Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, whichever time of day you are watching this, to the class of 2024. This is our first time ever virtual orientation for a ninth grade class coming into the building. We're trying to think outside the box and give you as much information as we possibly can. I'd like to go to our next slide and introduce the people that you will see with us today. I am Mr. Bai-Rossi, the building principal. We have Miss Brooks, who is our high school counselor for last name letters A through F. Miss Brunetto, who is our counselor for last name letters G through O. Mr. Tillman, who is our counselor for last name letters P through Z. Mr. Tillman, we all have a section of this orientation that we will go over and kind of introduce you to the secondary school or the high school and what those expectations are and what you can expect for your high school experience. So, I talk a lot, and this is very different, obviously, trying to do this without a crowd, without the students, and without the parents in front of us. But one of the things that we stress the most is attendance. Your simple strategy for success in high school is attend. If you're here and you have a positive attitude, your achievement will be good. I ask students at this point all the time about, what their goals are, if who wants to go to school, who wants to go into a trade. And I talk a lot about the importance of attending school and the importance of attending to your grades and having a good attitude in the secondary school or in high school. That this is a time where I say that they are building their resume for their next step in life, whatever that may be, whether it's college, the military, or the workforce. Once they get to high school, they start building that resume, and that resume is their high school transcript. And it's a very important piece of what they will achieve and what they will do in high school. And something that they need to start thinking about now. I know at 14 or 15 years old, sometimes that's hard to think about, but it's very important for them to think about that and what their next steps will be, because 4 years will go by quickly. Take it as a parent of three, two of which are off in college now. That time goes by extremely fast, and before you know it, they will be moving off to their next steps in life. Next slide. Avoiding the pitfalls in the secondary school. I would say that the biggest thing that we see with students is organization. It's a shift from middle school to high school and what the expectations are. The teachers are going to expect that the students are going to do a little bit more on their own. Obviously this year is going to look a little bit different because we're starting out completely remote. So students really have to manage their time, with their classes and with their work and know what they have to do and when they have to do it. One of the things that I'll kind of interject here is that they need to make sure that they're checking Schoology constantly. That's where they're going to get all their information from teachers, is through Schoology. That's where they will get their meeting times, their class times, how they're going to connect with their teachers, how they're going to engage with their teachers, what work they have to do, when it's due, how they go about uploading it or handing it into the teachers. So Schoology is really going to be their mainstay or their focal point for where they're going to get all that information. So students are really going to need to stay organized while they're doing this so that they know what they have to do and when they have to do it. That takes effort. Students are going to have to participate in the remote learning. They have to engage in the remote learning. One of the things that we're going to ask teachers to do is track student engagement so that we can kind of see where students are and come up with a plan if students aren't engaging in the remote learning process, so that we make sure that all students are getting what they need. Make sure they're studying for tests. Make sure they're completing the work or homework. And respect is another big thing. And this is going to look a little bit different now that you're in a virtual classroom. So you have to respect the people that you're with. You have to respect the venue that you're in or the place that you're in, because it's not a classroom anymore or a physical classroom that you're used to. It's now a virtual classroom. So that etiquette looks a little bit different. We sent home what we call the at-home matrix. Came home in one of the mailings to talk about what the expectations are when you're in that remote learning, when you're in a hybrid model, and when you're in a virtual classroom, and what your expectations are and what that should look like and what you should do. So, make sure you're on time, make sure you're prepared, stay engaged with the teacher and the other classmates. Make sure that you're speaking, appropriately. You got to understand that there's a lot of people that could be seeing this other than people in the classroom. So make sure that you're doing that. And make sure that you're addressing questions to the teachers when you need them. Connect with the teachers when you need that extra help. You know, that because this is so different, there's some of the things that the students are going to have to do are also going to look different. They're going to have to reach out to teachers when they need that help, and teachers will be more than happy to do that. You know, we've kind of dedicated Wednesdays as a day of kind of asynchronous or non-in-person learning for students and teachers, but that doesn't mean that teachers won't offer office hours during that time, a time for students to connect with their teachers, to ask those questions that maybe weren't asked in class, so that students can kind of keep up and understand the learning, the new learning that they're getting in class. Next slide. So I think this is Miss Brooks, who is going to talk about graduation progress. You know, I would like to say that, you know, as a school, as a community, we welcome you to the high school. We have a lot to offer. We hope to get the students in here as quickly as we can in the hybrid model so that they can experience the physical setting of the building. But we will obviously keep communicating with you about where our progress is and where we are in that model.
Yeah, so starting off high school, it is a bit different than when you're in middle school. One of the biggest differences is that you're going to start acquiring credits. Many of you have probably already started acquiring credits with either a math or a science or your foreign language credit, but starting your freshman year off strong and passing your courses is going to be what keeps you moving forward and on track for graduation. So as I just mentioned, it's all about credits. So you do need 22 credits to graduate. You have 5.5 minimum is what we try to ask of students each year. So 5.5 is what will keep you full time. And as you move forward, you'll see that there's 4 credits of English, 4 credits of social studies, and then you have 3 math, 3 science, and we'll break it down for you as we move forward in the slides. But yes, there's no doubling up until 12th grade. Most students want to try to get through the credits and rush through them. But we met with students last year to do scheduling, and we go over a 4-year plan with them. Every student's plan is different, so we write it in pencil. But each year, as we move forward with kids, we work to make sure that they are on track for graduation and obtaining a Regents diploma. So the benefits of passing are eligibility is the biggest thing. Many of our students are very active in extracurricular activities, and to do so, you have to be eligible. That's passing your classes with a 65 and above. If you're failing more than 2 classes, there's going to be more consequences and ramifications for doing so. But that is why it's extremely important to make sure that you're keeping in contact with teachers, you're keeping in contact with counselors, administration. You can do so in a variety of ways, phone calls, emails. We send letters home, so making sure you're checking the mail and receiving all of our correspondences. And yes, happier parents equals happier students. So also the benefit of passing is you have more choices. So next year, you'll see that a majority of your students are going to have very full schedules. Some of them have 6 to 7 credits. Some of them have 1 study hall a semester. And that's because we try to get a lot of those credits that are necessary for graduation out of the way so that their schedules open up and they can have the opportunity to take more different classes and electives that they'd be interested in. One of the biggest questions, as you see on this slide, is BOCES. BOCES is taken junior and senior year. The only thing that you need to do to attend is pass your classes. That's it. You just have to be on track for graduation. It's obviously helpful with college, and if you want to take dual credit courses, again, there's just going to be more room in your student schedule to take those high school and college credits. And in the summer, what will you be doing? If you don't pass your classes, or if you do pass your classes, you can go on vacation, you can work, playing video games, all of that fun stuff. But if you don't pass your courses, you will have to do summer school, unfortunately. And again, the reason being is because you have to obtain those certain credits to graduate. This is often one of the biggest things that we have trouble explaining to 9th graders. Maybe in the past, they didn't pass a math or a science and they moved forward from 8th grade on to 9th grade. That no longer happens. You have to pass those courses. And in addition, you have to pass some Regents exams to move forward also. So we just ask you to start off strong and ask for help when you need it to ensure your success this year, because it is a big transition. Ms. Bernetto is going to take over and explain the impact of not passing.
So as Ms. Denizio, or excuse me, Ms. Brooks did say, any class that you do fail, you have to remediate in summer school. And that's just to keep you on track moving forward and keep you with your cohort in order to graduate on time. So obviously, if you were to fail classes and you were not successful in summer school, that would obviously delay your graduation. So that's something that we try to avoid, and why we really utilize that summer school and hope that you guys do take advantage of it if in fact you have to go and attend. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about steps to success. For the most part, you should have some sort of study hall time built into your schedule, and you really want to utilize that time wisely. And that would be meeting with your teachers. Obviously, you can't meet with them right now in person. We hope that we can eventually do that soon, but all teachers will have office hours. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to when those office hours are so that maybe you can meet with your teachers for some extra help. So while during the remote learning, you aren't going to be expected to log into a study hall, you will want to still use that time, whether that be, working on that day's lesson or working on homework for the next week, whatever that might look like. Some students may have a supported study hall or a structured study hall. That is a little bit different from a general study hall. The expectation is that you will be logging in on those days during that time, meeting with your teachers to get one-on-one individual support. So make sure that's something that you are paying attention to. So again, a general study hall is a break in your day. Use that time wisely, however you seem fit. Supported study hall or structured study hall, you will be expected to log in and work remotely with a teacher assigned to you. So again, staying after school with your teachers once we do come back, that'll be something that's very important that you will want to take advantage of, as well as utilizing the teachers in the learning center. Also, monitoring School Tool and Schoology are going to be great. They're going to be hugely important throughout this time, especially while we're remote. Like Mr. Bai-Rossi did say, Schoology is going to have everything listed there for you and what you need to be doing with your classes. So those two platforms are going to be very important for you to monitor continuously throughout remote learning, as well as when we are back in the building. Again, actively participating in remote learning. If you are not participating or engaging, it's going to be very challenging for you to pass and earn credit this year. So, while it is new to all of us, just know that we are all on the same page. Even the teacher, I'm sure they're feeling overwhelmed on what they need to do with you guys as well. But just as long as you are actively engaged, you will be able to find yourself being successful. Same thing, do your homework, stay on top of everything, and just be here, be engaged, and participate. The cost of missing school. So the courses that are listed on this slide, you'll have these courses in your freshman year. So you essentially have 8 subjects, so to speak. So if you were to miss a day, if you were absent for whatever the reason might be, you're missing these classes. We are broken down into a block schedule this year. So you're going to have 4 blocks a day, 4 classes. So you're missing not just one day, you're missing 0 times 4. But then also you're going to double that up by 2 because, class time is 88 minutes. So you're essentially missing 2 classes of that one subject any day that you're missing. So, obviously, if you are not feeling well, your health takes priority, so you need to take care of that. But just missing to miss, you are going to miss a lot and be behind a great deal. And, this is going to be a frustrating year. I'm sure you're going to be completely overwhelmed, especially at the beginning, as are all of we. But if you are feeling frustrated, please reach out to us. We all can be reached via Zoom. We are available on Schoology. You can send us an email or a phone call. So please reach out to us because we really don't want you getting to this point, because these things can be figured out just with the help of asking. So if you need something, you will be able to contact us at any time. And from now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tillman to talk about education as well as a schedule overview.
All right, thank you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is just sort of why all this stuff matters, why high school is so important, things that you want to be focused on, possibly depending on your plans after high school. The big reason that it's really important is that education pays. It's important for your future. This slide shows basically that the more education you have, the higher your earning potential is down the road. That's really kind of the key aspect, is getting in here, setting that foundation to sort of set yourself up for the future. The next slide. The vast majority of students coming out of high school typically do look to pursue a college education. And that's not to say that it's for everybody, but it does tend to be the majority. So if you are preparing for college after you graduate in hopefully 2024, academics matter. It's important that you take the most challenging courses that you can handle. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take the hardest courses that we offer here at the high school, because that may be too challenging for you. It's a matter of finding that balance. You want to push yourself, but not push yourself to the point where you kind of have overextended yourself, because that doesn't help you either. But those core subject areas, that math, science, social studies, and math, science, social studies, and English, sorry. Those are the ones that colleges are really going to kind of be focused on primarily as they review your transcript. It's never too early to even start thinking about financial aid options. There's websites that we can help direct you to. FastWeb is one of the best ones, and even as a freshman, sophomore, junior, you can get in and start looking at those. It's nice to start looking at options for career shadowing or any of that type of stuff. Get involved in activities, build your resume. Those are all things that colleges are going to look at. They're really kind of looking to see that the students are well-rounded, that they can handle the academics, and they can sort of be involved in the community as well. As I mentioned, grades are important. Class rank is sometimes something that colleges will consider. SATs or ACTs have traditionally been important primarily for four-year colleges, but not for all. It's going to be interesting how this sort of plays out over the next couple of years, because a lot of colleges have gone test optional right now due to the complications from COVID and students not being able to test. So that's really a direct impact for the students who are seniors this year. But some colleges have already said that they're going to put that into place for a number of years, because there's kind of a ripple effect. So that may be something that will evolve over your time in high school. And as you get to that point in your junior and senior year and you're looking at colleges, we'll definitely be kind of talking to you about what's sort of the most current information at that point. Strength of schedule is definitely important, as I mentioned. So sort of challenging yourself, but challenging within yourself. Not overreaching, not underreaching. Your writing sample is going to be really important for colleges, and again, that's something that will kind of work with you in the future. Those recommendations. So kind of being involved with those teachers, those activities, those can all kind of help with that. You may need to interview for certain colleges. And there's something called demonstrated interest, which again, as we sort of move throughout high school and we talk a little bit more specifically about that college piece, we'll talk with you a little bit more about. But it's never too early to kind of start showing colleges that you're interested. If you do have some particular schools that you're interested in, you can always get on their mailing list, check out their websites. All that stuff can kind of come into play as you start looking at colleges. But like I mentioned, earlier, not all students will be headed to college. Some students will elect to pursue, a career or employment right after high school. And if that's the case, academics do still matter. We get all the time requests for transcripts from employers. So verifying, that students graduated, looking at their grades, depending on what the job is. Obviously, certain academic areas may be more important than others, but again, it is important to graduate. Use your time in high school to sort of explore some opportunities, take that relevant coursework. We offer a ton of electives in businesses, technology, art, a variety of different areas. And I know we talked a little bit about that in January, back last January when we had met. BOCES, as Mrs. Brooks had mentioned, if you do know that you're kind of off to a career area, BOCES offers a wide variety of career-related programs. that may be a perfect fit for you when you get to your junior and senior year. But you've got to have that background first. You've got to be on track with your academics, because BOCES does not replace any graduation requirements. It would basically come in addition to all of your other graduation requirements. So, you definitely want to make sure that you're doing what you need to do in 9th grade and 10th grade to set yourself up. Some students may be choosing to go off to the military. If that's the case, grades still matter. Most branches are becoming increasingly selective with the students that they are taking. So, at a minimum, you're going to want that high school diploma. They will still look at your grades a little bit. Your fitness obviously becomes important over your time in high school. You'll want to take something called the ASVAB down the road, which is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's something that you could potentially do in school or through a recruiter's office, but that basically would determine what jobs you'd be eligible for within the military. But some of it is based on sort of vocational skills. Some of it is based on academics. So, again, doing your best in your classes is going to help you for that. It's going to help increase that score on that exam, which is going to make you eligible for more options. And again, talk to a recruiter at the point where you kind of are thinking that military may be an option that you're considering. So, as we talk about the schedule, you all at this point should have received a schedule in the mail, and it looks a little bit different than in the past. So as was mentioned, we will be following a block format for this year. So on Mondays and Thursdays, students will basically take their first, second, fifth, and sixth period classes. So if you do look in School Tool, you'll kind of still see that traditional 8-period breakdown for the schedule, but they'll be delivered via a block format. So Mondays and Thursdays, first, second, fifth, and sixth periods. Each class will be 88 minutes long. The third block of the day, so fifth period on Mondays and Thursdays, and seventh period on Tuesdays and Fridays, will be longer. It'll be 120 minutes because it'll include that 88 minutes for class, and it will also include your lunch. So lunches will be at the top of the schedule. We'll talk about that in just a second. And that whole class will be going to that lunch. So Mondays and Thursdays, 1, 2, 5, and 6. Tuesdays and Fridays are 3, 4, 7, and 8. And that's the block schedule time you see on there. And that was also included in the information that was sent home. But again, if you have questions on that, we'll share our contact information here at the end. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need some clarification on any of that. So this is what the schedule looks like that you would have received in the mail. So at the top, for most students, it's going to have lunch at the first row of their schedule. If students are in band or chorus, then you may also see a band lesson or chorus lesson there at the top. So you want to look kind of to find your lunch. It's going to show you the time. So for example, this student on Mondays and Thursdays during an A week. So we're not going to do an A-B rotation by day. It's going to be an A-B rotation by week. So, next Monday, that entire week will be an A week. The following week will be a B week. So for Monday, the 14th, the student would have A lunch, which meets from 10:38 to 11:08. They're going to start their day from 7:30 to 8:58 with a study hall. As Ms. Brunetto mentioned, if it's a general study hall, students do not need to log in for that. But if it is a supported study hall or a structured study hall, then they will, because that's a great chance to get some assistance. They will then have integrated science in the second block. Now, since they have A lunch, which means from 10:38 to 11:08, they will go immediately after science. They'll go to lunch because it's at the beginning of their third block. And then once lunch is over, they'll go to their phys ed class, which for this particular student is Lifetime Fitness Yoga. And then after that, they would again end their day with a study hall. So on Tuesday or Friday of that week, which is the next column over, they're actually going to have B lunch on that day. So it'd be a little bit different, than they had on Monday or Thursday. So they would do food for today in their first block. math applications for their second block. Now it's going to work a little bit different with B lunch. So they're actually going to go to U.S. history right after their at the start of that block, and they'll go for approximately 44 minutes. Then they'll break for a half hour for lunch, and then they'll go back to U.S. history for for the second half of that block, another 44 minutes approximately. And then they'll end their day with English. So essentially the way to think about it is if you have a lunch, you're going to have lunch and then class. If you have B lunch, you're going to have class for part of the time, go to lunch, and then come back and finish your class. If you have C lunch, then you will have class for the entire 88-minute block, and then you would have your lunch at the end. And it is going to be a little bit different this year. Lunches are very spread out, and obviously now when we're in remote, it's even more different. But teachers will still be following that lunch time, in the delivery of their classes. So, but like Mr. Bai-Rossi had mentioned, really the most important thing initially, especially, is check Schoology often, because all teachers are going to have that information there on how to log in, when to log in, assignments will be posted there. Schoology is definitely kind of that central hub for getting all of that information. And it is going to be different than things were in the spring with the remote learning, because now the expectation is that students are signing on to those classes, at the scheduled times. Obviously, there may be issues from time to time. If that's the case, work with us, work with your teachers to figure that out. But hopefully, for the most part, students will be able to get on those classes at those times. But if you're having technology issues, if something is happening, that you're running into some hurdles, please reach out. Don't let that frustration mount. Reach out to us so we can figure out what the solution is, and get everything going in the right direction. So at this point, I will turn it back over to Mr. Bai-Rossi, who will kind of wrap things up. You can see our contact information there. And again, don't hesitate. Ms. Brunetto, Mrs. Brooks, and I, we are also all available on Schoology as well. So if you go to send a message, just search for us. But we're right in there, and that's a really easy way to send us messages as well. All right, Mr. Bai-Rossi.
Well, if you've taken the time to watch our virtual orientation, thank you. I would say, we all.
You're muted, Mr. Bai-Rossi.
There we go. Is that better? Did you hear any of that? So I would say, for those of you that have taken the time to watch our virtual orientation, thank you for taking that time. We are very well aware that this year is vastly different than any other year that we've had in the past. There's going to be growing pains for everybody. Making a transition from middle school to high school is always a fairly large transition. I would say the difference is with this group is that they've been in the building for 2 years. So they know the building. It's more about, learning the teachers, learning the coursework, learning what the expectations are. And they will still be able to do that virtually. But we purposely put our contact information up here so that you can reach out to us if there's issues. We know that we're going to have to work closely with families, closely with students, closely with teachers throughout this year to ensure that our students are engaged and staying on track in their academics. And we all need to be partners in that. It's going to take all of us working together to make sure that this is successful for all of our students and all of our families. So thank you for listening to us and hearing what we've had to say about the high school experience and what some of those expectations are. We will hopefully plan something for just before when the kids come in to get them in here a little bit and kind of acclimate themselves to the building before they start back in the building in a hybrid model. But if you do have questions, reach out to one of us, and we will answer any questions that we possibly can for you. And we're looking forward to a successful year and to getting our students in the building as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.
I do just want to add one thing. I apologize, even though I looked at the PowerPoint before going over this, I did mention that we'd go over graduation requirements, and we actually didn't put them in here. So if you do have any questions about that or would like the graduation requirements, we can send them to you or email them. So just, again, reach out to us whenever you need something or help with anything or even just that, and we'll get that information to you.